her. But first, Eoghan Corry is editor of Air and Travel magazine. Eoghan, you're very welcome to the programme. An awful lot of our listeners curious about this. They might be thinking of a foreign holiday themselves or getting away. How will this Digital Cert scheme work?
Good afternoon, Cormac. Well, the phrase devil is in the detail was invented for situations like this. We have a clear date from Europe's side, July the 1st, 6 weeks then for member countries to implement it, July the 19th. Very key that the only thing, or the main thing we know about that is that the restriction, if not ban, on non-essential travel will be removed. After that, we're down to a series of relationships. There are 27 different countries going to be looking at the EU digital certificate. It's terrific. The technology is awesome. It comes onto your phone and you hit one little click off your boarding pass, the QR code shows up and it gives you 3 pieces of information. Listeners will be familiar with what they are. It shows you're in the vaccination cycle. Have you been vaccinated once or twice? It shows whether you've had COVID, and it also shows if you have a test. Now, out of that come all the questions, Cormac. And amongst those is what happens people, particularly people in their teens or early 20s who are not in the vaccination system yet, when it comes to travel.
So what if you haven't been vaccinated? Can you avail of the Digital Cert and travel?
Yes, the Digital Cert will show your testing status, and PCR testing, it's obviously required for everybody arriving in Ireland. It's also required at the moment for going to a lot of other countries. Let's face it, Cormac, the 2 main countries that Irish people travel for non-essential purposes are Spain and Portugal. 70%, not just of our holidays, but of Northern Europe's holidays are in those 2 countries. So they both require PCR tests as it stands, and it's not clear if it will be phased out for all visitors. Portugal is already open but still require PCR tests from some countries, and Spain is opening on June the 7th. And what will happen after July the 1st, I'd imagine, will depend on 2 things. The rollout of the vaccination programme across Europe. Remember, only 11% of Europe, this is a couple of days out of date, but last figure I saw was 11% of Europe's population has had the second vaccine, 23% the first. But presumably by July, those figures will be much higher. So people will be reacting to the rollout of the vaccine. They'll be reacting also to anything that starts going wrong. If figures start going in the wrong direction, then I would imagine we'll see people pulling back from this. But the figures are terrific.
But
in the last week,
is an
the average
scheme
rate across Europe went down by 33%. Every country in Denmark saw a drop. So everything going the right direction to see a resumption of travel.
But you say the devil is in the detail, and this is an EU-wide scheme, the Digital Cert. How and ever, it is up to each and every EU member state to implement this in or set up the criteria whichever way they want. Is that right? Basically meaning you have 27 different entry criteria to the member states.
It's a Rubik's Cube of regulations at the moment. One of the motives for the European Commission to bring this in, and remember, this came in very quickly. Nothing happens fast at European Commission level, but they've pushed this through, and they also want to avoid a situation that's happened with the traffic light system last October, when everybody signed in and then decided to do their own thing. So there's going to be a little bit of clarity. The most clear thing about it is that if you've been through the full vaccination cycle, that means that you're free to travel without restriction. Some listeners will have seen the memes of grannies dancing on the tables in Ibiza because they've been vaccinated. But where it all falls into, if you've been through part of the vaccination cycle, will there be different interpretations of the vaccination cycle according to which vaccine you take? And down to that level, obviously under 6 is not going to be requiring a vaccination or a PCR test. That's pretty much standard. But countries have different interpretations of what age it will be. Some are 16, some are 18. It's 6 in the case of Ireland. And that really impacts on family holidays who have a shorter time scale to get away for the much longed for break. And there is a pent-up demand. Bookings today are already flying in. Very important, Cormac. The aviation industry has kept its shape and its options through through this. Aer Lingus and Ryanair, the two airlines that really count for outbound out of Ireland, have a very good schedule, not so much for June, but July and August, good routes, good choices, good frequencies. We even have 4 new routes. We have a route to Antalya, to Rhodes, to Santorini, and one to England.
And I think people will be weighing up their options quite quickly.
And as I say, it remains to be seen what detail in the Digital Green Cert will enable us to travel in the numbers we want to.
Okay, we'll see what people do in terms of travel. Eoghan Corry, editor of Air and Travel magazine, thank you very much indeed.